We are live. Hello, everyone in the Lifter LMS audience. We're streaming to Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. Wherever you see us, if you do see us, drop us a comment on the platform and we'll see it. Come in here, leave us a like. We didn't send out an email ahead of time about this live stream, but we will be sending out an email after with a replay, and you'll see this replay on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, in perpetuity, wherever it's at. But today, I'm joined by Dili Sotorelli and Christos Palukas from Presidium Web Hosting. I am wearing the merch. We got this merch at WordCamp Athens. This was, I think, 4 weeks ago, WordCamp Athens, and I'm still in Athens, hanging out, exploring the city, and just enjoying the time being able to work remotely here in Europe. But thank you so much, Christos and Dili, for joining me. I'll pass it over to you. Dili, do you think you could give us an intro about who you are, what brings you to Presidium, and why you're here today?
Yes, certainly. Thanks, Will. It's great to meet you, and I hope you're enjoying your time in Athens. It was great to meet you also at the WordCamp Europe this year. We met some amazing people, and I think we all agree that we have some great memories.
Yeah, for sure.
from the event. So I'm Dili, and I'm a growth marketing executive at Presidium. I'm joined here by Christos, and today we hope to have some great experience and speak a little bit about web hosting, WordPress hosting, what we do, what are some cool features about us and about our team. So I personally joined Presidium at the end of last year, and I've always been interested and enthusiastic about the open source community, which is the broader community, and the WordPress people have always, inspired me because I've been following different topics and how WordPress evolved throughout the years, and was very excited to actually join the Presidium team. As someone who loves traveling, I immediately I clicked with the team because everybody is very open-minded. We work 100% remotely, and it's really a team of experts. So it is a pleasure to work with them.
Awesome. And I'll pass it over to you, Christos. What brings you to Presidium and to the call today, and what do you do in the WordPress ecosystem and at Presidium?
I'm not doing as much as I'm supposed to be doing because I'm going to do a lot. No, I'm definitely going to do a lot more. So the WordPress community, it's quite addictive. You can't really get them off your back even if you wanted to because they're just amazing people, right?
Right.
So at Presidium, I'm the performance engineer, and I do some of the things that we're going to discuss throughout this little webinar today.
Awesome.
I'm not going to ruin it yet for what I do at Presidium. But what else I do at Presidium is meet amazing people. So we're staffed with 35 different people. We have really unique, I guess everyone does, but really unique personalities behind those 35 people. And we're really into unlocking those personalities, actually getting people to be themselves and actually having fun within Presidium. And I think it's starting to happen recently.
Okay, that's awesome. And I think we're kind of making that turn at Lifter LMS too, trying to get more personality driven and really, the people build the company. So in a world of
the heart of the company.
Yeah, the people are the heart of the company for sure. And I know what you mean. I work in customer success at Lifter LMS, and Dili at a previous company worked in customer success. So getting the community off your back is a challenge, but it's a good challenge that we, it's good that we have the problems to solve for the community. So I'm super grateful for that. And today we're going to be talking about a challenge of website hosting. A lot of our users find this a challenging topic. What is website hosting, how it works, and all that kind of stuff. And Presidium, for anyone who hasn't heard of Presidium before, is a website hosting company. And you guys are going to be taking me to school today on how website hosting works, the underlying infrastructure behind it, and just helping demystify some of these more complex topics to people who are used to buying a domain, pointing it to their website host, and then just logging into WordPress and then never going back into the website hosting platform. That's kind of like my experience. And so, yeah, so a lot of us spend time on the higher level open source WordPress backend, but then the hosting is so fundamental and important to a website and the uptime and performance and all that kind of stuff. So does one of you want to talk a little bit about different types of hosting and give us a little bit of a tour of like shared, dedicated, managed hosting, traditional hosting, and kind of what it means when you hear these different buzzwords on host pricing page? What should we be looking for? What do some of these terms mean? Because to me, they're just buzzwords, and I'm like, I don't know. I think I approximately know what they mean, but I don't really understand how to choose the right solution for me.
Okay, that's going to be fun. All right, so you want me to describe different hosting? What about what is hosting? So like hosting, why do you need hosting? Everyone knows they need to put their website somewhere and they pay someone something and they upload some file somewhere and ta-da, you have a website. But hosting is literally it's a service, right? So aside from having your website ready, aside from having your application set, you need somewhere to put that application. Hosting offers the computing power because like all servers are computers. Whenever we talk about servers, it's just computers. If it's an array of servers, it's a bunch of computers that talk to each other. These computers have certain responsibilities to make your site work. I guess the most important ones would literally be the storage, like on the actual server or computer, the database, the network resources, so that it's available on the internet. And that's it. Like hosting is literally just putting your application, your file somewhere, and it's available to the rest of the world.
Okay, nice. And so when we talk about terms like shared or dedicated hosting or like managed hosting, can you share a little bit insight about what these terms mean? Like if we're buying, basically renting space on computers, what are the differences between these types of services we can rent?
Cool. And traditional hosting or not managed hosting, you have a computer, you have a server, or you have a part of a server in shared hosting. Anyway, you put your files there and they work and you find them on the internet. In shared hosting, there's a lot of you. There's a lot of people with really like small restrictions for what they can do on their website, maybe performance-wise, resource usage-wise would be the best thing to say. That's shared hosting. So everyone is on, or everyone, many websites, many clients are on a single host, whether it's a physical server or a virtual server. It's some computer that everyone is on there and everyone's sharing that environment together.
Okay.
That's shared hosting in traditional hosting. You can also have your own little server. You can spin up your own computer with the software you need, with PHP, a web server, a MySQL database, and host your own little, or create your own little hosting environment. That's another part, I guess. You would have to use CLI tools, like command line tools, and type like commands into the computer for the computer to do stuff for you in that scenario, or use some sort of web-based user interface, like cPanel and Flask are very popular. That's all in traditional hosting. Now, in managed hosting, that's all done for you. You don't have to worry about the systems. You don't have to worry about monitoring. You don't have to worry about resource utilization. You shouldn't have to worry about extra services, maybe value-added services like having your email ready. So I don't know, at Presidium, for example, once you put your site on us, once you move your DNS records to us and everything, outgoing email is handled by the platform as a whole. I guess the overall, like the end game goal of what managed hosting is doing as least, or making it much easier for the actual user, like having the user do it the least amount of work as possible to make everything work. For example, at like a super high level, there's always a dashboard involved. You don't want people logging into, I don't know, the server and executing commands or going into some sort of cPanel. That could be cryptic if they don't know exactly what they're doing. You want them to be able to log into a dashboard, push buttons. What are some typical dashboard features? Automated backups, instant backups, long-term and like offsite backups, access to those backups, having multiple environments, like a staging environment where you could actively develop the website, and then a production environment. You would push a couple buttons by the dashboard and have it go into production. maybe you made a mistake, you want to revert those changes, so you go, one step back. Stuff like that is what hosting provides. We provide quite a lot actually in our dashboard. We're happy to say that we're one of 2 managed WordPress hosting providers that provide very detailed analytics, for instance, for their users, like where their users are coming from, what kind of response codes, HTTP response codes their users are getting, live performance metrics for those users. Now, the performance metrics that we provide are all systems oriented, so there are tasks reading logs and providing that data in almost real time. There's a delay.
Cool. Well, I guess like that makes a lot of sense with the traditional versus the managed side of things. I never really thought about that. How I was used to seeing cPanel and Plesk sort of installations like 5-10 years ago, and now I'm seeing more and more of these managed platforms that offer more solutions in sort of a custom dashboard. I guess I'll pass this question over to Dilly. Can you talk a little bit to the features Presidium provides and some of the different services that are kind of in the different hosting packages that you offer? Like Christos mentioned, like possible like email sending services, like the analytics side of things, and just like installing WordPress different offerings and that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So overall, our own solution is this awesome infrastructure that everything that Christos described. It delivers this optimized website experience, and this is with regards to every aspect that a hosting infrastructure should have for a website. So the end result is fast. It's a great speed, faster, outstanding performance, which maybe a little bit later Christos will also talk about. And as Christos explained, you are stress-free with regards to the downtime or security or hacking, which are all valid points normally to be worried about or that usually lead to frustration when you have to run or manage a website. So our custom dashboard actually accompanies all our plans. It is included. It is the vital part of our product. So not only we offer the infrastructure and the hosting, but we also do offer this amazing managing tool, which is the dashboard. It's included in every plan, and all the plans are they take into consideration your own case. For every website, you might have actually multiple sites, so we take this into consideration. We have a team of solution consultants like Christos and engineers who in very specific cases, especially for mission critical websites that require more capabilities to be able to handle stress for their websites or traffic or different requests. We offer enterprise plans solutions for those. So we've got the variety of plans and packages. So you might say that there is a package for every case. So we can start. We start with the personal plans, where you can. It's auto subscribe. So all you need to do is visit our website, and to make sure that we understand your your model and your future goals, we offer 14-day full-featured trial. So the idea here is to experience the dashboard, and any questions that you might have in that regards will basically unfold during this trial period. So all in all, the plans are very specific for each case. It really depends on your traffic, but they're super light, and the features are resonate with the specific type of business.
Yeah, that sounds good. And I think a lot of questions we have at Lifter LMS regard like optimization. Like in many LMS sites that have a lot of dynamic content, like when you log in, the site looks one way, and when you're logged out, the site looks a different way. We have a lot of conditional redirects of like, if you view the course page but you're not currently enrolled, you get redirected to a sales page and things like this. I guess, Christos, do you think you could speak a little bit to the setup under the hood of handling things like dynamic content and how we can have like performance and optimization without breaking the LMS underlying, like how Presidium handles some of these more complex WordPress websites that aren't just blogs, that aren't just like a restaurant, like a static content, like more dynamic content handling.
All right. So that's like a really generally difficult question to answer so soon into the interview. But at Presidium, we do manage WordPress hosting, and we only work with WordPress. So I do have an answer for you. I do have I have a couple answers for you actually. So we use a two-layer adaptive cache, or I'm sorry, I screwed up there. A multi-layer adaptive caching system that we developed at Presidium using tools that already exist, but we made it very WordPress centric. And what we can do is we can be very specific about what traffic goes where as far as like our backend goes, as for the nodes that we'll soon get into the infrastructure. We'll probably get into the infrastructure at the end because that's the most boring part for most people. But we do have the ability to be very specific, granular with traffic shaping. So we say this traffic goes to this server. This server is going to cache this amount of information from the website and this kind of information from the website. We do have the ability to cache, dynamic content, but we have to know the website quite well beforehand. We can't just be caching anything. We can't have Will logging into his website and it's saying, "Hi, Paul. Hi, Christos." That's not going to work.
Yeah, and I think like in Lifter LMS, the quizzes send a lot of data to the database. Like when you answer quiz questions, it gives a lot of like feedback and results clarifications, and you might have all kinds of integrations, possibly like WP Fusion sending data out. Like there's a lot of complex things happening in WordPress, and I think that's where a lot of friction with our users and website hosts comes into play. Is just like the website host optimization methods break sort of the complex functions that Lifter is trying to do. With talking with the database. And so if I understand what you're saying, you have some different ways of handling different traffic coming to the website. So maybe like learners might be able to, like people who are already purchased, already logged into the LMS might be able to get served content without as much optimization. And you could maybe apply a cache to your sales page, your users who are coming in the front door to check out your blog post or check out your homepage, some more static content. Could be handled differently.
In real time, all the traffic is going to be sent to the ideal node for that situation in your specific setup. Because at least, for our enterprise clients, we go into the detail. We figure out how the website works. We actually try finding what's optimal for the way the website is used, because every website is completely different. Every WordPress website is completely different. Their integrations could be, anything. And then there's the fact that the websites are used very differently from other websites. So actually knowing how the website is used is a key piece of information for optimizing it.
Okay, cool. And I think, Nili, you spoke to the power of the infrastructure and the dashboard itself. I don't know if a lot of website hosts put a lot of emphasis on the hosting dashboard, because a lot of WordPress users intend to spend a lot of their time in the back end of WordPress rather than in the hosting panel itself. Can you talk a little bit to the Presidium interface on the back end, like the control panel for the users, and why that's sort of a valuable place to spend time and what they can do in that area?
Yeah, exactly. As you mentioned, that's the interface that maybe a non-so-technical person is facing. So it was important. We have a great product team, and it was important to understand our audience and how intuitive or sophisticated our tool must become in order for them to be successful using it, because of course that was our ultimate goal. So some of the outstanding things that make our own Presidium dashboard very unique is the fact that you can build a team inside the dashboard and invite and assign your team to a level of permission and a level of role. So you can collaborate with the collaborators, internal and external, maybe for your business or agency or website. And this allows you in real time to collaborate, which is something very unique in our industry. Another miracle that happens inside the dashboard is something that Christos mentioned, is our analytic suite, which provides with the insights, and you can follow everything that is happening with your website in real time.
Okay.
So these are all, of course, things which are on top of everything else that the dashboard does, which is automate a lot of activities which help you manage better, especially if you don't have a resource. This is something that clients tell us all the time, that it is extremely helpful to have automated actions, automated backups, patches, and so on. So we've been very successful with doing this in a centralized place through the dashboard. And of course, it's also our own channel to communicate with clients, because it's related to our ticketing system. So if you have a question or you need to contact our support team, you can do this instantly through your dashboard.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think thinking on this kind of in an abstract way is a lot of problems that LMS site owners face are related underlying to the hosting layer, and this is a layer that we don't really understand. So we set up our host, we jump into the back end of WordPress, and then we run into some random errors, and then there's not really, I don't know, we're trying to troubleshoot things from the browser end, from the WordPress side of things, but then I like the idea of spending more time in the back end of the web hosting. Like Christos had mentioned, you can see certain like error messages that are being served to your users, and you can see traffic statistics, and like you said, Dilly, collaborate with your team in the hosting panel. So it's putting more emphasis on the actual machine that you're renting, because like you guys have said, that each WordPress installation is different, and it heavily relies on the server you're running on and how that hosting is configured. And so putting emphasis on like, let's step out of the WordPress admin area for a little bit and step into the hosting panel and interact with the actual computer that our users are interacting with. I really like that idea on a high level that you guys do at Presidium. And I guess, Christos, do you think you could talk a little bit about the I see in our notes here we have like load testing side of things and optimization within the hosting panel. What does it look like for Presidium users in the back end of the hosting panel for how they can test these parts of their website, like look at analytics, like what are the valuable things that maybe LMS site owners would be doing in the back end of Presidium related to their website?
They would be able to identify what pages their users are going to more often. They would be able to identify the response times of the pages that their users are going to more often. Then they'd be able to troubleshoot those specific response times. So what you mentioned before about like errors, our dashboard has a live error feed for the particular installation. So the particular WordPress website. That way you can go in and see, oh, if their LMS installation X is doing this at this point, let's go fix that. You can also export them. Just today we had a push that made exports available for access logs for the past, I think, 7 days. It was only a 1-day thing. It's really important to note that, I don't know, since 2014, the dashboard hasn't stopped evolving. It's very active. Things don't, change too much to the point where people can't use it because some providers might do stuff like that. But everything is in place, and there are very clear directions for everything. What else you could do? It's really insightful. I can tell you one of our next plans. It's a secret too, I guess. We plan on putting real user data from the way it's seen from a certain really big provider that everyone knows on the internet. We're going to have that stuff show up on the analytics dashboard too. There's a little sneak peek as far as the performance side of the dashboard. It's important to note that the dashboard does all the basic stuff too, right? So, like adding a domain mapping, redirects, it's all like click, 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 step 1, step 2, step 3, step
Migrating also.
Migrating is a really good issue too. I'm sorry, we're jumping all over the place, but like you've done website migrations, right, Will? You've made a zip file and then you've uploaded it somewhere and then nothing worked, right?
Yeah.
It was fun, wasn't it? So you stayed up all night and tried to fix it and it sucked. You don't have to do that at Presidium because we do that for you. We don't have our own exclusive migration tool yet. That's also in the making. But what we have done rather, is we use an existing tool. We integrated it very deeply into our infrastructure, and our migrations don't really take very long. I'm happy for you to test me out on that.
Okay, yeah, that's a big question, especially with it seems like the customers I've seen in the LMS space migrate hosts a lot nowadays relative to what it used to be, where you'd have a website host, you'd sign a 3-year contract and you'd be happy for 3 years, and then you'd sign another 3-year contract after that. It's like every 6 months or every year, we're like, how do we get to a new website host? And so the migration feature, I think, is a big part of that, just having that easy migration. Because I know the base WordPress users and LMS users we work with don't know that much about migrating a website, and so they end up trying to hire a freelancer for like a $300 to $600 job, and most of the freelancers who can do this job well are not interested in taking jobs for $300 to $600. They're in that higher pricing range. So having a quality way to migrate your WordPress install over to Presidium is pretty valuable, and I assume migrating sites around too.
It's very easy. In our case, it's very easy. Our team of experts does that for you. Of course, you can do it by yourself, but we are happy to always do that for you. So it is really, I think, a breakthrough in terms of resources for everybody that we've spoken so far, and is using our this option to migrate with us. And it's as Christos said, it's definitely it doesn't take long at all.
It's also something we provide to all our customers, regardless of what plan they get. Plus, the guy that you just described on Upwork, that's who's going to be doing it for them either way, but it's just going to be a white glove, service that's going to be taken care of by the hosting provider. I mentioned 35 people before. More than half are in the DevOps support team. There's always someone there.
Awesome. That's good to hear. And I know I always rely on the hosting support because I do a lot of, in addition to the work I do at Lifter, before I worked at Lifter, and even still on the side, I do like freelance stuff. And a lot of times for customers, I am interfacing with the hosting support. They're basically hiring me to interface with the hosting support and manage the migration, like you said. So that's what's the support like at Presidium, like the process? You guys do like email, chat support. What kind of options are there regarding that?
Who wants to do this one?
I guess
I'm fine.
Over to Dilly, I guess. Do you want to take that question?
Yeah. It is one of our prides, the support that we offer. I would say it's one of our main differentiators even, and we've been awarded for that in from various institutions. The support was something that even when Presidium was in its very beginning and was starting in its humble starting, where it was just 4 people, the founders, it was still one of the basics that they decided and understood is what's going to make them different from all the rest of the managed WordPress hosting providers, because WordPress hosting providers already existed when Presidium was established, but historically that wasn't the case for the support that these organizations would offer to their users and clients. So I think that's what really gave us, a lot of advantage in comparison to the enormous number of hosting providers out there. Our support, there is no chance that um, your email or your issue will get lost or will not be answered, or it is a national holiday in some part of the world, so your answer is going to be forwarded in 3 days. No such thing. We look globally. As we mentioned, we are, in terms of employees, we are remote workers. However, we look globally, and besides our servers, which are situated globally as well, we also are happy to offer 24/7 support. The SLA we provide to our clients are amazing. For high priority escalations, the response time is under 3 minutes. For any other standard, of course, issues, it's up to 30 minutes. But what we see is that we are getting constantly better and better in this. And yeah, it is as though you are receiving support from experts. um, it is embedded, the option to actually contact our support team is in the dashboard itself. It happens with one click. And yes, and we always receive the best feedback about that, because it is important when you have a project with your website. Say you're education in the education system, or as Lifter is working with many different clients as well, and you understand that uh, the need for contact with the people that you have to consult and advise in a specific moment is very crucial. So yes, we're happy to do that.
Awesome. And like Christos had mentioned, with a significant amount of the company in the DevOps area, I think that adds a lot to the support. Having the people working on the infrastructure, testing the infrastructure, and working with things under the hood is like, I don't know. It's always a nicer experience when there's no like tier one support is something that we frequently hear complaints about, where someone might get on the phone with a hosting company or in a chat with a hosting company, and it's sort of like the purpose of the support agent at that level one level is to get the user to go away, or maybe sell them kind of into another service. So having the developer oriented nature, I really like in hosting companies, because you get like a really great answer really quickly. So in hosting companies I've worked with where the developers are working in support, it's just a lot smoother of an experience, because you'll get a more accurate answers.
Straight to the point, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have scripts. We don't have level one. They're all level two plus DevOps engineers. You say, this is my problem. They say, hi, I'm looking into that for you right now within 3 to 5 minutes. And then eventually you get a response that eventually comes down to minutes.
Nice.
We're actually quite good at support. I mean, it's a pretty damn good product, but I'm going to keep letting you ask your questions.
Cool. Well, I guess I'll hit you with another question, Christos, about the security is something that I end up in support about a lot. Like the clients will message me and say my site got hacked, so then I'll message the host and be like, hey, I checked the file manager and I didn't see any code, or I didn't see any malware or whatever. So security is a big thing that plugins talk about, hosts talk about, but security is sort of like a really abstract topic that we don't really focus on too much inside the WordPress interface. The plugins, of course, have security standards for how they write their code, and then you could have a dedicated security plugin. But I think a lot of security comes down to the hosting platform itself. That's the actual machine that's like trying to secure itself, as it takes in data from users submitting their contact forms, as it takes in data coming into the database from quizzes from Lifter LMS, or from like anything that's communicating with the server could be trying to send or receive data. So there's a lot of security risks in WordPress historically, but it's gotten really good in the last 10 years at security. And so how do you guys handle security from a technical perspective at Presidium?
That's going to be a tough one. I'm going to light a cigarette for that one. You don't mind, do you?
Cool. It's a big topic.
Let's start with WordPress. I'm going to cut you off there. Sorry. Let's start with the actual application at hand. The actual application of WordPress, like your site, your code, all that stuff. You can protect that using like plugins, and the plugins are, they're legit, like you said. There are some sort of standards that security has to follow. Security is much like networking. There are standards, few innovations, much standardization. But that's flawed by design, by nature, by itself. So there's a single point of failure with the plugin. The plugin is part of your application. So the thing scanning your actual site is part of your site. You can't ever, I mean, sure, precautions are taken, but you can't ever be 100% sure with something sitting on the same level. With hosting providers, they have the ability to avoid what I mentioned before, like a single server setup where everything's on the same thing. And what we do is we segment all these parts of the server. We segment the part that runs PHP, we segment the part that runs the Apache web server or the Nginx web server, or the part where the traffic comes in, so like the network edge, and the database. What I just described was 3 different layers. Sorry, it was 4. 3 different layers. There's the database layer, the front end layer, and the back end layer for like the network stuff, not the development stuff. And then there's a network edge. At Presidium, we start off at the network edge because that's where we can. We can't go any further as Presidium. At the network edge, we have our own in-house built wireless WAF. That's I'm forgetting my acronyms. What's a WAF? WAF. This is embarrassing.
I don't think our viewers know what it is either, so you can make it up.
Firewall. We have that set up all the way at the network edge. When you see funny looking requests, or when you see too many requests coming from a certain number of IPs, providing some sort of DDoS protection, stuff like that. We get alerted. We get alerted for all of that. Some things get banned. At the network edge, aside from the WAF, which is the first part that the traffic comes into, there's an IDS, IPS. This is getting geeky. So intrusion detection system and intrusion prevention. That's what it says. So if we see some weird requests coming from a certain host, we might get an alert, depending on how weird we think they are or not. If we know they're quite bad, or if we consider them quite bad, automatically, again, and in real time, because it's network stuff, that host will get banned. Sure, that might be someone like me trying to do some stress testing, but we won't take that chance, because then we'll actually, I don't know, potentially ruin the service for other people using the service.
Yeah, and when you say network level, you mean like, so if someone who I don't even know gets attacked by a certain server, like with the DDoS attack or something like that, but they're hosting with Presidium, the Presidium network would know about this, so then they also maybe found my website in the crawling that those bots were doing, and then they try to attack my website. I'm automatically under some protections because Presidium knows that this other site also got attacked from a similar.
Right. So as a general rule of thumb in security, you want to protect the furthest part first. Yep. So that's the network edge. That's where we start. With the whole segmentation thing, it's called an N-tier architecture, what we use. Like there's the first tier that the traffic goes through. There's a second that the application stuff happens. Our first tier is responsible for the adaptive caching layer that I mentioned before. So most of the traffic never actually goes to the second tier. But for the traffic that can't be cached for whatever reason, it goes there. And then there's a database layer before that. All different layers, because they're segmented, can have their own security policies and authorization policies, authentication, because it's all segmented, right? So it makes everything a lot more configurable. It makes it a lot more confusing. It's not easier. It's simpler. So there's a misconception about what's simple and what's easy. This is much simpler. It's a much simpler approach. It's not easy. You mentioned malware. We take care of that for you at Presidium, regardless of the plan that you have. Again, if you do tell us that your site has been under attack or has some sort of malware, we do provide now a malware removal service, free in all plans.
Cool.
We take care of that.
Yeah, that's
so. With your previous example, you would just be like, "Hey, support team, I have malware," and the support team would be like, Okay, we'll clean your site for you.
And I know how hard that is. That's not like a simple thing to fix the malware, like crawling through the file manager in the database to like find like suspicious code is like that's tedious. So that's nice to and I'm sure you guys have some automatic functions to highlight this, like what's different from its general WordPress install with cleaning malware, but it can be a tedious process cleaning up malware. So that's awesome that that's like a service.
Yeah, we actually use a human to do it too, other than just running routines and then just getting the results to you. We actually have someone being like, hey, why isn't this working exactly the way I thought? What's good is that human, that particular human you reached out to, is probably going to be the human that's going to respond to you. We forgot, we're jumping around again, but we forgot to mention our best effort, I'll say, zero escalation policy and support.
Okay.
We don't want to tell you that you have
Yeah.
to wait and ask someone else. We want to tell you to wait so I can fix it, or wait so I can give you a solution.
Very cool. Yeah, that's awesome. It's cool to be able to have like that kind of hotline where you can get in touch with someone and they can, likely fix your issue just themselves there within like, just a couple hours. And it sounds like it's even faster generally. But I know like as a freelancer, that's a big thing with clients as to why clients hire freelancers and agencies in the first place is that they want kind of a one-stop contact or just one phone number or one person to email to figure out a problem. And so it's nice that with high quality support with a lot of people in DevOps, you could even, rely on the hosting company for, cleaning malware, helping migrate your site and in the dashboard. I haven't been into the back end of the dashboard that much, but sounding like the dashboard's simple enough for users to work with, and it shows things like traffic. Even showing things like traffic to specific pages is a really awesome feature that like you'd usually have to get your Google Analytics set up through your Google account, which is really kind of difficult. And then once you're in the Google Analytics dashboard, they just went to Google Analytics 4 like 4 days ago, but it's still pretty confusing as to like how do I find the data that I want to see about a certain web page. So having nicely accessible analytics in the hosting end is super exciting to me.
It generally is. We went over the part about the infrastructure. The question was performance oriented, but I didn't want to, tell you how we do the performance stuff before I tell you what your site's actually running on.
Yeah. Do you want to speak a bit to the infrastructure side of things?
Yeah, from the performance aspect, okay, there's a lot of configuration that we do. There's a lot of custom configuration that we do. There's a lot of that maintaining the multi-layer adaptive caching thing that we have at Presidium. But I don't know. Performance is so weird, and there's nothing really standard about it. So you come to me, Will, with a website, and you're, I don't know, potential new client. Let's take that scenario. And you're like, hey, this is my site, and I have a lot of traffic. And I do campaigns every, I don't know, Friday. This is a random example off the top of my head. I have a random campaign every Friday, and then there's a huge giveaway, and people log into my site and they visit a particular page, pay me for a ticket of some sort to win whatever they might win in the giveaway. And I say, cool, let me take your website. Let's take your website. Let's put it on one of our enterprise clusters. Let's see what we can do there, or put it on one of our dedicated, rather testing clusters. It's a better word than enterprise. Putting phone on silent now. Good.
You're good.
Not too late. What happens next is the fun part. I sit with you and I say, cool, you're expecting users to go to your homepage maybe, and then go to the login page, log in, visit a particular site, or read a particular blog post, or maybe go through your website. It's an e-commerce website or an e-shop, and they're products to put in their cart, or they're filtering products, or they're trying to search for products. I don't know, whatever users do on your website, the user journey / heat map in a general sense of what they do. I take that information and we make it into a test routine, like a plan where we later take that and put it through our performance, rather load testing engine. So we can simulate users doing that thing on your website with the random wait times in between requests and actually trying to simulate real users. And then we start adding users. So we'll add 10, we'll add 20, we'll add 30. We'll look at your particular use case. Maybe you have spikes or expect spikes of traffic from TV commercials. I don't know, random example. We can simulate that, and I can go back to you and be like, hey, look, here are the results. You should expect these kinds of response times for your users. And you might be like, okay, so an 8-second response time for logging in when there's 800 concurrent users on my website, it's too much. And I'll say, cool. So we have this multi-tier architecture for the infrastructure, and I could be like, login requests, those are uncached. They should surpass the first tier. They'll go to the second tier. Maybe we'll add more oomph. We'll add more computers, nodes in the second tier, where you'll be dealing with that stuff for those particular requests. And then you'll see, I don't know, we'll change the response time from 8 seconds to 4. And then you'll be like, hey, 4 is good, but 4 is still kind of slow. Then we could be like, all right, cool. What if we send these kind of particular requests to these 2 computers in that second tier? And all of a sudden, everything works a lot faster than it used to work. And now you know what to expect for your website. And you can sleep easy. You could know that your website won't be just highly available, like up on the internet. That's basically what that means. It'll actually be working. So there's a difference between working and functioning in my head. There's a functioning website that you push the URL, like type in the URL and push enter, and it goes, it functions, it's there, it exists. It might take 10 seconds, but it still functions, but it doesn't work. That's the big difference between working and functioning in my head as far as sites go.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I never thought about it that you could allocate, and this sounds like as a feature of your enterprise plan, you can allocate certain or work with the team to allocate certain requests to certain areas of the website. So, like, when our typical advice is when the site is slow in any regard, like quizzes. In Lifter LMS, quizzes are something that get slow very quickly because there's so many database requests being made during this quiz process. And so we're just like, go upgrade your website hosting. But upgrade your website hosting is a very vague way of putting that. So I like how you're describing the problem as certain requests come into the website host, and we can treat these requests differently by allocating certain nodes or like computer resources to these specific requests in order to make them faster. It really helps understand the breakdown of how hosting works under the hood. So I really appreciate that.
And for the whole capacity planning thing, we don't open up some sort of this whole thing is called capacity planning, I guess. That's called
Okay.
We don't open a sort of spreadsheet and say, hey, how many requests do you get per second? And we'll look at a spreadsheet and say this many requests per second, this much RAM, this much CPU, this much, I don't know. Because it doesn't work, because one request can have a payload of a couple bytes, the other could have a couple hundred. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
Generally speaking. So we get more results that we can grab with our hands, or we can give them to the person and be like, hey, this is your website on our platform.
Cool. Well, that's really awesome. I think I'll pass the question here over to Dilly about marketing hosting is, for me in my mind, a really complex thing to offer because there's so many different hosting providers in the ecosystem, because the web is just becoming more and more of a big thing, especially as we deal with new ideas like Web3 things that are still on the very cutting edge that most people aren't interacting with. But how do you approach I guess a lot of marketing is about drawing attention, drawing demand towards your company and attention like that. Hosting, Christos is helping me a lot with demystifying this process here on the call. But how do you approach bringing people who just aren't as familiar with what hosting services are into the Presidium ecosystem, and or just on this high level of I watched a YouTube tutorial and apparently I need website hosting. Are these people a good fit to come into Presidium in the base package, or is a little bit more of a higher level offering? How do you approach the ideal customer for Presidium?
That is a very great question, Will. Actually, I really like it. So I will actually start with something that may sound weird, but it actually explains a little bit about ourselves, about Presidium. So when I first started and was talking to prospects and meeting different people or potential partners, some people would say the same thing. Well, it seems that Presidium is the best kept secret because your product is amazing, your support is amazing, but it just seems that you guys were so focused on producing the optimal, the optimal solution for WordPress managed hosting, that probably the communication was left or was delayed a little bit. But the great thing in our case is that it is word to word and mouth to mouth thing. We see this effect of really winning over some, mission critical businesses, because we see the difference. There, of course, a lot of hosting providers out there, and yes, they work, and the community is great. We're absolutely happy with everybody. But if you have a specific mission critical website, if you cannot afford downtime, if you cannot afford late support response in a week, or to watch your business go down, then we are the right solution. And it looks like the referral part of our network and partners, and the fact that we produce results, has been working as a marketing, as a marketing mechanism. We are, of course, open, and as I mentioned, the spectrum of plans and packages that we offer is very fulfilling for all the different type of businesses and websites that could exist. However, we think that if you are not looking to manage your website, or if you have, if you can afford maybe to just have content, but without depending on the reliability of your website, maybe you can find some more economic solutions out there. So this is back to your question: do we welcome everybody? Yes, we do, and we actually have consultations, online consultations. Christos is always happy also to extend a helping hand, perform tests, present the tests, the bottlenecks, and the areas of improvements. So this is all how we work with absolutely everybody. But indeed, the business architecture that we offer is mostly oriented towards websites that are mission critical and require high availability at all times. So yeah, that's what our marketing is also about.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks for the insight there around it, like availability and like the ideal type of sites. Because I know like we talk a lot about like the hosting enterprise level plans, and you guys seem to have a really awesome enterprise level plan that breaks things down into the hosting layers, allocating things different ways. But I think a lot of our customers too have the questions about these more base plans and what they offer, and even figuring out which package is right for them. I think when I look at pricing pages for software products, and I would assume a lot of our customers do the same, is we look at the numbers of like, it's this much per year, this much per month, and we look at the numbers as far as the pricing tiers, but we don't really look at the top part. Usually has a label of like what you're actually buying for that price. And so I appreciate like the optics into that side of things. And I wanted to pass this question over to Christos. HA hosting, I don't know what that is. You have it in the show notes here. What is that, and why is it important for hosting providers to use an HA infrastructure?
Well, HA is high availability. That's all the stuff Dylan was talking about.
Okay. Nice.
There you go. You learned something new. You learned the new acronym. It's funny that we're talking about this with this part of the call, because Presidium was that was their first goal. We're going to be the first functional, operational web provider, managed WordPress hosting provider that offers full high availability. And high availability, what that means, it basically means you have multiple computers running your application, this WordPress website, so that if something happens to one of the computers, you don't care, nothing bad happens. What we do support is active-active topologies, which means that within those three layers in the it could be two, three, anyway, within those n layers in the tier for your particular setup, you've got active, you've got net, I lost my train of thought. All the machines are running at the same time. They're all communicating together. They're all synchronizing together. Where requests go and when they go and what writes and what reads, it's a whole different conversation for like a webinar just on high availability. But you have security, peace of mind. You know that your website's still going to be up. You won't get an alert from some uptime robot or a similar service that's going to be like, hey, your website's down.
Okay, interesting.
Really important burst too. I mean, you could be a huge department store chain in the United States. Let's say names that some Black Friday sale comes up and you don't have high availability, or you can't manage your performance, or you can't manage all your incoming traffic. You don't do the proper shaping. You don't put the traffic where it should go. In the best scenario, your site is going to go down on Black Friday, and you're going to lose, I don't know, hundreds of thousands, millions. I don't know how big you are, but you're going to lose money. Plus, you might lose patronage. Is that the right word? When people come back to you.
Okay. Yeah, like customer loyalty. Yeah, I think that. Yeah. Patronage. Yeah. That makes sense. I'd like to see a webinar about high availability. Maybe we could put something together like that in the future. But I guess sorry, what?
No, it's hard. So the whole high availability thing. That's why we wanted to solve that before any other host. It's really hard on something dynamic, something on WordPress.
Yeah, it sounds like, because if it's not static content, like I assume on a static website, you just have the copies of the websites on multiple computers, and then whichever computers are down, you don't pass the request to. But then when you have dynamic websites that are serving like different customers and have like user sessions and all this stuff going on, it's hard to allocate. I would assume, it's really hard to allocate what's going where when there's so much interaction with the website, and it's much more dynamic than just like a static HTML or PHP website.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just for the right down to the biggest issue, the main point. You have 3 different servers running the same database on 3 different servers. Where do you update things, and where do you sync things, and how do you make sure things don't get corrupted? Sure, there are relatively ready-made things for that, but nothing's really made at the end of the day. No.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. But did either of you have anything else you want to make sure we cover while we're here live?
Just a quick asterisk for the high availability. Not everything that we do on platform-wise at Presidium, it's all provider agnostic. So we can take our platform, and be like, hey, we're going to use AWS as our upstream provider. Hey, we're going to use GCP. Hey, we can use Linode. There's another 2 that were tested as well. They're not on the top of my head, but we don't have our own servers. It's very important to note we don't. But we're not obligated to use any one particular provider.
Right, and you mean like underlying hosts like DigitalOcean, AWS, these like actual the big server farms and everything.
Right. So it's important to note that that Presidium does one thing. We don't host Minecraft servers. We don't have our own servers. We do WordPress hosting, managed WordPress hosting. We just host WordPress websites as best as possible for the person that needs a WordPress website hosted somewhere. We just do one thing.
Cool. And maybe soon to do Minecraft servers as well. I guess, Lily, do you have any final words for the audience about where they should go to check out Presidium for their LMS use case?
Yes. So absolutely, please do follow us on social media. And we are also happy to share our blog articles, and LMS will be featuring soon there as well. So we will stay tuned for that to come. And of course, I invite everybody who wants to take a look at the free trial. It's fully featured, so you get the real experience from it. Do not hesitate to try it out and to contact us if you have any questions. Christos is also happy to consult anyone who is having issues with the performance of their website.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Christos and Dilly, for joining me today. I'm sure we'll be doing a lot more lives and content and blogs in the future. So stay tuned for that and leave us any comments, questions you have about website hosting and Presidium. But thanks so much for joining me today.